Hey everyone. So in order to understand the most recent flare-up of racism from Donald Trump, we need to go back and take a look at one of his earlier flare-ups. You all remember the shithole countries controversy from January 2018. In that moment, Trump told legislators that were gathered around that we were taking too many immigrants from so-called shithole countries, by which he meant countries from Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean, and he singled out Haiti for particular abuse. Why couldn't we, Trump asked, get more immigrants from good countries like Norway? Now, in the aftermath of that controversy, there was a roundtable on CNN, and two of the panelists were Rich Lowry from the National Review and progressive writer Joan Walsh. Now, Lowry thought that he had come up with the ultimate gotcha question, and he sprung it on Joan Walsh. He asked, "Where would you rather live, Haiti or Norway?" Well, Walsh froze up, deflected the question, and refused to answer. And in that moment, neither of them recognized the stupidity of the question. The answer to the question is a simple one. Of course you'd rather live in Norway. Norway has one of the highest standards of living in the world. It has never been beset by hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, political chaos, or meddling from the outside. Of course you'd rather live in Norway. But saying that doesn't tell you anything about the quality of the respective people from those countries. The Lowry-Trump fallacy is that shithole countries produce shithole immigrants. History has shown us that that's absolutely not the case. In fact, it's the reverse. For example, if you said to me, would you want to live in Ireland in the 1840s during the Great Famine there? I'd say, hell no, I wouldn't. People were dying left and right. The place was chaos. No, I wouldn't want to be there. But those conditions gave rise to the first great wave of immigrants to the United States. And the Irish have become a central element of the American fabric. But when they first arrived in places like Boston, they were met with contempt, discrimination, and a proliferation of signs that said things like, "No Irish allowed," "Help wanted," "No Irish need apply." So how ironic it is today that when we think of Boston, we think of a salt of the earth, Irish Catholic, blue-collar town. It's funny how things change over time. For example, if you asked me whether I would want to live in Cambodia during the 1970s in the killing fields, or in Vietnam after the end of the Vietnam War, would I want to live in? Of course I wouldn't want to live in those places. But those same conditions gave rise to the waves of Cambodian and Vietnamese immigrants who've become dedicated, determined, prosperous parts of the American experience. Nor would I want to live in a Jewish enclave in Eastern Europe in the 19th century, fraught with anti-Semitism, discrimination, and state-sponsored violence against the people of those enclaves. But those conditions gave rise to the great wave of Jewish immigration to the United States. Jewish immigrants who have become dynamic, creative, indispensable parts of the American family. Like the Irish, it took a while to get there, but it happened. Now, to be sure, Trump would only use the phrase shithole countries to describe countries with predominantly black and brown populations. But the principle still applies. Distressed, dysfunctional, desperate circumstances give rise to immigrants who enrich and ennoble this country, not the opposite. Now, I disagree with many of the commentators on how the most recent Trump tweets came into being. Many have attributed to Trump this great tactical sense. He was trying to distract us from this. He was trying to deflect from this. He was trying to take our eye off the ball. I don't think that's what happened at all. Here's what I think happened. On Sunday morning, around 10 o'clock, Trump was wandering around the White House living quarters, stewing, fretting over his inability to get the citizenship question added to the census, cursing John Roberts for calling out the Trump administration, stewing over the fact that all the recent polls show Trump losing to the top Democratic contenders, cursing the pollsters who've come up with these data. And there he was watching his bank of TV sets, noticing the skirmish between Nancy Pelosi and the four freshmen. Now, any adult, anybody with an adult mentality, would have said, it's kind of fun watching my political adversaries fighting with one another. I'm going to sit back and watch this and enjoy it. But Trump is not an adult, nor does he have any impulse control. So watching this Democratic fracas, Trump was like somebody watching a barroom brawl who looks and says, man, this looks like so much fun. I'm going to pick up a chair myself and start swinging it wildly at people, which of course is what he did. And I think in the moment, Trump was so foolish and so ignorant, he actually believed that all four of those women had virtually just gotten off the ship somewhere from some shithole country. After all, they're all women of color, right? That must link them to some place that Trump doesn't like. They all have kind of funny names, don't they? Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't think Trump could even say that name if you wrote it out on his teleprompter. Rashida Tlaib. Isn't she the one that called me a mofo a few months ago? And how about Ayanna Pressley? Ayanna Pressley is about as middle American as it gets. Born in Cincinnati, raised in Chicago, and she now represents the district that incorporates parts of John Kennedy's old district and Tip O'Neill's old district. How core, how central American can you be beyond that? But that didn't matter to Trump. These were all women of color. Let them go back to wherever they came from. I think that another delusion that Trump had in the moment was that if he sent out a tweet that aligned himself with Nancy Pelosi, which he did if you read the tweet carefully, he's taking the side of Nancy Pelosi in the skirmish, that he might win a little support from Pelosi supporters. Trump had no concept at the time that his tweet would become not only a national outrage, but an international outrage. Take England, for example. Some of Trump's greatest toadies, lackeys, apologists. Theresa May felt compelled to come out and make a statement against Trump's tweets. Boris Johnson, soon to be prime minister probably, felt compelled to reject Trump's tweets. And perhaps the biggest toady of them all, Piers Morgan, came out and spoke out against Donald Trump. When you've lost Piers Morgan, you know you've lost the whole ball game. But once the tweet was out there, there was no backing down. So Donald has been forced to double down, triple down, quadruple down on the tweets. But I would wager you, if you gave him a do-over and said, would you like to wave a magic wand and take back that tweet? I think he would take back the tweet in a New York minute. Those tweets have not helped him one iota. And one way that the tweets have not helped him is that they have reignited, rekindled the enthusiasm among Democrats for impeachment. Impeachment was kind of a back burner issue, but Trump has reawakened the Democrats to that issue. No, I don't believe that Nancy Pelosi has either the wisdom or the guts to initiate an impeachment inquiry anytime soon. But nonetheless, the energy within the Democratic Party is significant. And if she did come out tomorrow and say, this really crossed every red line I've ever drawn, I'm initiating an impeachment inquiry, it would create such a wave of energy within the Democratic Party that people would be dancing in the streets. Now, that North Carolina rally the other night with people chanting, "Send her back," am I the only one that had sort of visions of Germany during the 1930s as I watched that? That was so revolting, I could barely watch more than a few seconds of it. But I think maybe there is a silver lining in all of this. Trump's tweets constitute yet another Trump word gem that won't soon be forgotten. It will stay in our memories like Mexicans are rapists and criminals. Judge Kirio can't serve in my case because his ancestors are Mexican. Shithole countries. Neo-Nazis are good people too. There are good people on both sides. And let's not forget the disgraceful and potentially criminal grab 'em by the pussy. My hope is that if we keep in mind these great Trump web gems, not only will it prevent him from ever winning elective office again, but it may make it hard for him to even finish this term. I'm Jeff Rowan. Thanks for watching.